Well, it's time now for Your Money with Evans Financial, and joining us today in the studio is Colin Evans. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us again.
Absolutely. And so today we're talking about tax policy changes and your finances.
And the unfortunate thing that we've always heard is two things that are common in life, and it's going to be death and taxes. Unfortunately. And we've got new presidential candidate now, president-elect coming into play, and there's a potential for tax, some tax changes as any, change of presidency and changing of the guards. Right. And, we really saw, I think really for America, when we saw a little more positivity on Trump's side, and this is not sounding political by any means, but when we saw the opportunities that he was giving out of, hey, we might do away with taxes on tips, and if we are going to do something about taxes on Social Security or taxes on overtime, and I think it really spoke to the American people, because I think, frankly, we're overtaxed as we can all relate to the pocketbooks when we've seen, especially with the last years with inflation, our interest rates are catching up to us. So, one of the things we want to pay attention to is, as we're coming in with a new presidency, can be income taxes and some things that can possibly change with that. And that could come in from different tax rates, the changes that the candidate might want to put into place. And we already know right now we are actually still in Trump's tax code from when he was last president. And these are some of the lowest rates that our country has ever seen. However, at the end of 2025, there is a provision that the tax codes that Trump put in place that ends, and we revert back to Obama era of taxes. Well, that's a higher tax rate. So that's something that we already know that there's a potential for taxes already going to be increasing. However, now we have a change in the guard, so that could change. But it is something just that people need to really be aware of. Paying attention to capital gains taxes, and these are taxes that you typically see on the profits that you earn off of investments. Those can also be subject to change. So, an investor that might possibly have large returns, he might get hit hard when it's time for him to sell investments, and he has to pay a capital gains tax. So that's another area or another avenue for people to look at. Yeah. Some other things that we might see change, deductions and credits are ones that have always come up to fruition. We've seen the child tax deduction. We're familiar with mortgage interest rate deduction, things like that. We've seen medical expenses that have been out there and charitable donations. Those can all kind of come up for change, and they have over the years, but it's just some other things we might see that we might have changes coming into play. Our biggest takeaway for people is to plan ahead and make sure you visit with a tax professional, a CPA, right, or a qualified tax planner to really do some forward thinking and some forward looking and say, hey, what are some things that you potentially might see that could affect us down the road, and some things that we need to be ahead of, so that way you can catch these things beforehand, as opposed to in arrears and going, oops, I wish I would have known. Right. And taking the bull by the horns and really just going out on the front end and say, hey, are there some things that you might be aware of that could help us out? So I highly recommend visit with a financial professional or a tax professional, just to maybe it could even put fears at ease that some of us might have, as we've seen as kind of on either side of the fence. So those are some things that are coming up. So hopefully we could see some good changes, and really for the American people, and putting more money in the pockets of America.
Good advice. Yeah, we always appreciate your advice, Colin.
Well, thank you.
And where can we find you?
Absolutely. You can catch us at evansfinancial.com, or if you'd like to shoot us over an email, that's info@evansfinancial.com. Eyes also go directly to me, and we love to hear feedback, especially when we get some great questions, and every now and then somebody throws us a great topic that we will use and bring up that we might not have discussed.
All right, good deal. Thanks for joining us.